Bolt your windows. Lock your doors. Check your closets. Look under your bed. And then prepare yourself. For it's another episode of Dark Night of the Podcast. Whoa!
Welcome to another fabulous episode of Dark Night of the Podcast. I'm going to say right now, for those of you who have personally messaged me or commented asking me if I was going to start this episode by singing the song "Who Let the Dogs Out" by the Bahamen, I want to say, how dare you? Like, even think that I would ever sing something so tacky and lowbrow. How dare you? I mean, I appreciate quality. We at Dark Night of the Podcast, we look for quality. If I'm performing a song, it's coming from the heart, and it's never "Who Let the Dogs Out." That's shameful that you think a gay man would even know the lyrics to "Who Let the Dogs Out." But what I will say, talking about quality and talking about highbrow cinema, I think this is the perfect week to cover the movie we're covering, because our good friend Slasher Junkie just spoke about how much he adored Hayden Panettiere's newest offering, A Breed Apart, which focuses on killer dogs. And there seems to be a trend right now. He gave it a sterling review, a 3 out of 10. And I feel like we're looking for quality cinema. That right there. I'm not singing "Who Let the Dogs Out," but I will sit down and watch Hayden Panettiere in A Breed Apart, featuring those CGI dogs. Troy, have you watched it yet?
No.
Are you going to? Are we going to cover it for Dark Night of the Podcast? Just for Slasher Junkie?
Some gay redid the poster and posted it, and it said "breed me" instead of
Oh my God! One of our friends also redid the poster and digitally put you on, I think, Hayden Panettiere's body, and me and him on two of the dogs. It was Brett. He redid the poster for us. And I was like, I'd watch this over A Breed Apart any day. But there seems, maybe this is a new thing. We've had a lot of slashers in the last couple years. We had a lot of weird, fantastical offerings. And I think, killer animals, killer dogs, especially, maybe that's the new subgenre that's going to be popular for the second half of 2025, and we just don't know it yet. How would you feel about that, Troy? If all of a sudden we got a bunch of rabid dog films, would you watch them? Would you be excited for it?
Yeah. I mean, after watching this, which I had zero clue this film existed.
Yeah.
Zero. No, I had no idea this was an actual film. It's all the way from 1977, and I'd never heard of it. And often in my mind, I wonder why there aren't more killer dog movies. I mean, there's Cujo, the granddaddy of them all, but there's really not a lot of killer dogs. We get some very memorable scenes that involve killer dogs. I'm thinking of, like, When Evil Lurks. That was a scene from a film that came out a couple years ago that me and Mikey Manshot covered when you were on hiatus. I think that scene, powerful killer dog sequence. But you just don't see a lot of Chihuahuas and Irish setters and pugs. And what else is in this film? Fucking Akitas, golden retrievers, running around dragging old ladies away. And I need to see more of it. Maybe not necessarily in this film, but I need to see more of it.
That's my feeling on this film overall, I think, though, Troy. I think that this is a nice light fare to cover. If you're wanting to talk about a movie that is not necessarily a good movie, but I do feel like when the entertainment value hits here, I had a blast. When I saw that woman get dragged away by that Irish setter, I said, this is the movie for me. Do I want to hear the banal dialogue of them talking about pheromones for the first half of the movie? Not at all. Do I ever want to see this man in this bowl cut grace the celluloid screen again as long as I have to watch film? Not necessarily. I don't need him to come back again. In this movie here, though, I think that the lead actors here are strange and awkward and stiff, yet somehow serviceable. This whole movie feels like a fever dream that I didn't think I'd ever have, but here we are. We're watching dogs, we're talking about it, and I've got a lot of gripes for this film, but I think I knew I was going to have gripes coming into it. So overall, those gripes that I was going to have are a little more passable, they're a little more acceptable because like I'm getting into a 1970s killer animal film. These things are never phenomenal. But when this film starts allowing it to be what it promises to be, a movie about killer dogs, there's actually several moments in this film that I think, wow, they actually kind of nailed it. Like there's a few scenes in this movie that I'm listening to these women scream and watching these people getting mauled, and I'm like, oh, goddamn, this is kind of shocking. It actually impressed me in some ways, and I'm shocked to say that.
Yeah, first, I wonder how many of our listeners are like me and have never heard of this film and didn't even know it exists. If you are like me, please stop the podcast and seek the film out and give it a view before you dive into this episode. Not that this film there's no spoilers, there's no in depth thinking you're going to have to do with watching this film. When I first tried to watch this film, Roger, I struggled because the opening of the film, maybe the first half hour, like you mentioned, very talky, very convoluted, and it still never really fully comes full circle with
Right.
all of what we're told in the beginning. Never really comes full circle. I was really put off. I was like, I don't know if I can talk about this film because I have no fucking clue what's even happening. My second viewing, I kind of warmed up to it. And you're right. I would say most of this film, not good, but I want to give credit to probably the last 15 minutes of the film. I think it becomes what it should be, what it should have been. It really picks up those last 15 minutes, and I really had a blast with those minutes of the film. The rest of it is honestly a chore to get through.
It's a chore to get through with moments that are sprinkled throughout that are kind of promising what's to come. Let's get into it. Let's get into this big meaty steak bone that we're going to be throwing to our fans this week. We're getting into dogs. 1977. I can't think of a more straightforward title than that. I picked this movie because I was like, I hope this is about killer dogs. I'd never seen it. I didn't know anything about it. The poster features a Doberman looking aggressive. I'm like, I don't know what else can be at hand here. Like with a title like Dogs, I'm guessing it's got to be about fucking killer dogs. And you know what? It sure is. But there is this big, heavy, bloated storyline that we're going to get into here that does bog down the first half of the film. Now, after watching it over a few times, I don't want to say that the dialogue is stupid. That's not the thing. It's actually, I think there's quite a lot of thought into what these doctors and scientists are talking about. But for me, a casual viewer who is wanting to watch a movie called Dogs, it is such heavy dialogue. It's so much setting up groundwork to give us an idea of what they're going to be getting into as to why these dogs are doing what they're doing. That, like, yeah, you're right. It's a chore. And listeners, if you haven't watched this movie, go in knowing that you're going to have to pay attention. And I don't think you want to come into this movie prepared to like pay attention. But if you're really going to understand what's happening, I do say, like, just know this isn't a film that just kind of hands you the story. You really have to listen to what they're saying and probably watch it a couple times to really understand what's going on here, what the mechanics of dogs actually is.
Yeah, and but then again, on the other hand, you're saying you have to pay attention, you have to listen, but what's going on really isn't that complicated. I feel like we could have figured it out with 2 lines of dialogue. That's all we needed, but they go on and on and on and on about it. And I think another really weird thing that makes this film, like you said, almost like a fever dream is that for me, none of the actors have any energy. None of them really seem like they want to be there. And it really comes across like they all seem bored. Even in scenes that are big and you would expect some reaction, they're very low key and just like I said, they look bored. David McCallum is our lead, and apparently he was well known before this film for playing the man from Uncle, which was a really, really popular series in the 60s. He got an Emmy nomination, and that's really what he's known for. I don't know if he was like down on his luck and he was just at the point in his career where he was just taking stuff because this was the late 70s, but he just seems over it all the whole film, like just bored out of his fucking mind.
Wouldn't you be bored if you're having to recite some of this dialogue, though? Like, pointing to exactly what you said a moment ago. This could have been explained with 2 lines of dialogue. Absolutely. But what they choose to make the storyline revolve around is basically these doctors, students at this university for biology, which a lot of what they're just talking about in passing is things that would go over the average casual viewer's head in general, because they're talking about like their education. They're talking about specifically talking about the government recently getting involved with some of their projects, not trusting decisions that are being made by the university leadership, people having issues with how things are being handled. And like it is just, I think, a little more like weighted and complicated of dialogue than I would have wanted. I could have watched a film with the same title and even the same storyline that focused around 2 students on the university campus who are a lot more likable and like not having to like dish out all this extremely bloated exposition. Because truthfully, like for me as a viewer, I just don't need it. You're absolutely right, Troy. They could have explained the basic concept of what's going on at this campus and then shifted to another focus that was just a lot less boring and a lot less difficult to get through, because it does make for a rather draggy first 30 minutes. It really does.
The film opens up at a basically like a cocktail party for the staff of this college. Now we have to acknowledge the film primarily takes place on the campus of this college, Southwestern University, which is apparently one of the premier biology colleges in the country. And it opens up at this pool party. And, you know, the opening scene is interesting because it's from the perspective of this Irish setter that's running through the crowd of people, and you see people bending down and petting the camera and being, oh, good boy. And then you got that one old bitch that she's like, ew, get away. And I know she doesn't. But, and the dog like goes to the gate to be let out. And apparently the 70s were a different time. You could just like open the gate and let your dog run through the neighborhood, because this Irish setter takes off down the street, and we get the most inappropriate opening theme music I think I've ever heard. This sounds like Lassie. It's very uplifting, and you get this dog running down the street in slow motion. Not only that, Roger, it starts being joined by other neighborhood dogs, and by the end of the opening scene, you have like a dozen dogs just running slow motion down the street, not a care in the world. No, you know, just running down a city street.
I don't know about you, but this opening gave me hope. It filled me with joy. These dogs, there's nothing really ominous about it. They're just slow motion, and they're coming from all over the place. They're running. Who knows where they're running, but they're going somewhere. And yeah, it really. It's like a gentle flute orchestration. It's just not what I would expect. But you know, I guess it sets the tone that we're in for something new. Like something we haven't experienced here yet at Dark Night of the podcast. Introducing Sandra McCabe, indeed, who is our lovely heroine, Carolyn, who I'm sure we're going to talk about a lot. We've covered in the last few weeks, we've covered a couple movies with a few female characters who maybe have been underutilized or just didn't tickle our fancy. I'm really going to say that the character of Carolyn, played by one Sandra McCabe, it ranks among the most unlikable female protagonists I have experienced in a movie since we started this podcast. This woman, she's got a shriek that if I never hear that scream again, I'll be a better man because of it. Like, you want a woman who can scream. In a movie like Dogs, you want a woman who can scream. This woman's scream is so unpleasant to listen to. She's incompetent. She's having emotional breakdowns. She reacts like a child. I just don't understand how this woman got cast in this film. Her acting is extremely wooden, but she's introduced here big role for her. And yeah, the cast, when you say they seem bored, I just can't imagine Troy being excited talking about a lot of the things that they talk about in this opening sequence. I love that first person perspective of the dog moving through the crowd, but as soon as you launch into this party after the credits, they're just talking about the university, and I try taking notes down, but I'm like, what are they saying? Like, who is going to understand this, you know?
I take thorough notes, and I know you do too. And that's how we are so able to dive so deep into these films in a linear manner, because we are very thorough with our notes. I was sitting there like, what should I write down? I have no idea. And I don't think that we need to spend a lot of time bogging down our listeners with what's going on here. I mean, I can try to sum up a 30-minute scene in about 40 seconds, because that's really all you need. But you get introduced to our protagonist, who is Harlan Thompson, who is he's the head of the biology department. So he's he's well respected, although his personality is very dry, and he is just not very likable, and he does not like the people he works with. And right away you get introduced to this new guy, this Michael Fitzgerald, who has just joined the staff. And he is also a premier biologist. And you got that horny broad, Miss Ingle, who wants to fuck Fitzgerald for some odd reason, because he's not an attractive man, but she is all over it. It's very odd.
You mean Charlotte? I literally have the same note, Charlotte. I'm like, who is this horny fucking dame? Every line she delivers, it sounds like she's so aroused by everybody. She wants to fuck everybody. But yeah, I think, Harlan, I don't hate the character of Harlan, because I like the contrast. You got all these stuffy, uptight people dressed to impress, and then he's there in a denim Canadian tuxedo. Like, he's there. You could tell he could give two shits. He's got this fucking bowl cut. Let's talk about this for a minute. There's one thing we need to talk about. It's the introduction of this fucking bowl cut, because this is a haircut that will forever be ingrained in my mind. I mean, this man's hair, it is such an aggressive bowl cut. It's silken. When the wind's blowing, it's very dramatic. It's got highlights. But like when he is just like standing there in a room talking to people, it's really hard to take him seriously, because this is a haircut I would expect on a 6-year-old child. I don't understand who thought this was the right cut for the leading man, especially if he's supposed to be a respected biologist. I get it. It's of the times. It's 1977, but still, he looks like a fucking fool with this haircut.
He reminded me of the little boy from, like, I don't know, what was that Fulci movie with the little blonde boy with the bowl cut running around. Yeah, it's really hard to buy that this dude is the premier biologist in the nation. And he is just instantly, he doesn't like anybody, because even Fitzgerald's like, oh man, I've been wanting to meet you for so long. I feel like we already know each other, because a lot of our work is parallel. And he makes that comment. He's like, oh, well, parallel lines aren't supposed to meet. And he's just like being shitty to everyone. And then, Carolyn introduces herself. She's an English professor at this college. As soon as she introduces herself, the lights go out. All the power goes out. And we find out that this is a common thing to happen at the college campus ever since a government agency installed a linear I can't even fucking say it, linear accelerator on or next to the campus. And it affects the electricity. Apparently it causes the electricity to go out almost every day. They're just used to it by now.
This sounds like a problem.
I know.
And it's also a problem that I don't know the fuck this thing is. And they talk about so much. And they try so hard to give everyone a clear understanding of what this thing is. But again, for me as a casual viewer, no matter how much they over-explain it, because they just keep saying the same things over and over, it doesn't click for me. I still don't know what it does. I don't know how it relates to pheromones. Pheromones are coming into play here soon. Get ready. If you like pheromones in your horror movies, this has got them. But so they're talking about this accelerator. People either love it or they hate it. And it sounds like most people here hate it. I do want to acknowledge, like, Michael Fitzgerald is introduced as like a young kind of up and coming, he's new at the school, and he's basically Charlotte implies in some dialogue that he could almost be gunning for Harlan's job. Like there's almost an element where Harlan needs to kind of feel a little intimidated because they work in the same field and they're both very good. I gotta say, Michael Fitzgerald is also like the women are talking about him. Everyone's all into him. He walks in, and I can't imagine a more boring, plain man. If like he is just he looks like your neighbor that you grew up next door to that would like, yell at you if you walked onto their lawn. And he's like balding with thick rimmed glasses, and he looks like a total nerd. But it feels like they're trying to paint him as impressive or desirable, and it's just even his energy, he comes off as very dorky and with no confidence, and it feels like the character you get is not who the character was written to be. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Because this Miss Ingle, this Charlotte Ingle, is all over him, and she even makes the comment, like you said, he can give Harlan a run for his money in more ways than one. And I'm like, lady, are you even insinuating that he is a better looking guy than Harlan? Because yes, Harlan has that bowl cut, but I would take Harlan over fucking Fitzgerald in a fucking heartbeat. Yeah, it's just really weird. And then something with, I don't know what this Charlotte Ingalls, she just fucks everybody apparently. Yeah. And then, they just keep bitching about this linear accelerator. And I was trying to figure out what is it, what's it doing? Because obviously they wouldn't be introducing it, the concept of it, if it didn't play some big part of the plot, but then it really doesn't. I don't know. But as they're bitching about it, the lights come back on. And then you are introduced to the president of the school, Dr. Copeland, and his old wife. What's her name? Harriet, Gertrude, one of those.
She's fun though.
I like
she's
her.
She's a little firecracker.
Yeah, I mean, I wish she had more to do. But she's definitely the more of all the characters in the film. I think she's the one that is the most. I don't know. It has the most personality. Yes, where I was saying at the beginning, everyone is flat. She injects a little bit of personality into this film. But she asks another doctor, because again, there's so many characters in this opening scene because it's a cocktail party, Dr. Antry, who is there with Charlotte, about an incident he had recently about a dog attacking him. And he proceeds to tell this story about how he was given a lecture and a seeing eye dog jumped up on the podium and almost ripped him apart.
Well, and he tells this story with like a lot of flamboyance and gusto, and it's like this gay man is telling us about this dog.
I thought this man was a homo, but later on in the film, he's out with Miss Charlotte wanting some pussy.
Well, it's 1977. I think any man that wears a suit like this man is wearing and tells a story with such lavish detail is a homosexual. He's just closeted. This is very much like a Vincent Minnelli scenario. This man, I feel like.
He was so offended by the whole scenario, too. He was so offended. He's like, oh my God, I can't believe that dog would even do that. And then he's like, one of his football students had to save the day. He's like, remind me to give that boy a good grade.
Yes. He's a tight end, that one. But yeah, so as the gay and the gals gossip, because that fucking Charlotte, she keeps dropping clues that she's wanting to fuck everybody.
She says, she has the line, she's like, well, unfortunately, nobody was ripped or munched.
Meaning that she's like, I want to munch on somebody's bone. And all the guys are kind of like, okay. Like, you could like, I almost feel like people, she's so sexual, she's so aroused, I think it almost makes people uncomfortable in a way. But you could tell that Harlan is drawn to Carolyn. We find here in this moment they share together that Harlan and Carolyn they had been dating and recently separated, but on good terms. And you don't get a lot of information, let's be clear. But I think it's pretty clear that Harlan has a drinking problem. This is hinted at a few times. And he's also very, like you said, he's unlikable. He's intentionally the outcast of the group. He's purposely trying to not connect with the rest of these people. But he does have a connection with Carolyn, and this would be, I think, a helpful plot line to explore if her character wasn't just so beige. This woman is just so bland and just lame, and she's so meek. Like, this is not a woman. Don't expect this gal to rise up and save the day. Let's be clear. This is a woman who is incapable of self-defense. This is a woman who breaks at a moment's notice, emotionally will break down over anything happening. And it just makes for this relationship that exists between them is just very it's almost kind of sad. It just seems like they're both very kind of pathetic people in their own way, and it's not like you really want to root for them being together. Like, I'm not hoping that they're gonna rekindle their love affair anytime soon through the traumatic experiences we're about to experience that affect them.
No, I'm glad that they are not a couple because A, I could not imagine Harlan being with anybody. But B, it gives a level of, I don't know, realism to the film that these two, aren't a couple anymore. They have a little bit of animosity towards each other, although I think she still appreciates them. There's a moment later in the film when she invites him in and he declines. But you can tell they just have a really strong bond. She is the only one at the college that really understands him and gets his personality.
Right.
Everyone else is, like you said, uppity, suit, tie, very proper. She seems a little bit more down to earth, and I think that's where their connection comes into play.
The one positive thing about her, like, she is just a lame duck, but at least she's kind. Like, I will say that she's the only one in the group of people who doesn't seem to judge him or treat him differently. So, I mean, she could easily be a character that I detest, but at least she's well-intentioned. I'll give her that. She has Harlan's best safety and overall, like, wants the best for him despite what might have happened causing their relationship to fail. And that is an endearing trait for her. I'll give her that.
Yeah, and he does say during the scene, because now they've gone and sat at a table by themselves. He basically laments the fact that he ever came to this college in the first place. He's like, you know what? I feel really duped because when I was recruited to come to this campus, I was told that this was going to be a premier place of intellectual stimulation. And then he's like, but look at it. Look at my colleagues. Look at them. They sometimes even frighten me. And so he's just not a happy man. He's not happy at this college. He's not happy with his colleagues. And now Carolyn is the only one that he feels he can confide in. Although I do like the fact that him and Michael Fitzgerald sort of start to build a little bit of a rapport together.
Honestly, one of the character developments that I enjoy over the course of this. Truthfully, I think that they're really, really hard to relate to or appreciate at the start of the film because all you get is animosity between these two. But as they start to form a bit of a rapport, there's a sarcastic kind of back and forth of between two intellects that, even though I don't understand everything they're saying, I like how they're butting heads, but they kind of turn it into a friendship. And that is one thing I like the development between these two men of becoming buddies in a way through this experience.
Well, yeah, but towards the end of the movie, they really become a duo that have figured out what's going on and they need to try to stop it. So as they're sitting there, Harlan is interrupted by a cop. I believe this is the sheriff, or I'm assuming, who comes to Harlan and is like, hey, you told me to come to you and let you know if any more cattle were killed. Well, Larry Ludecky just called and a bunch more of his cattle is killed and he can't deal with it anymore. So he leaves Carolyn and he gets a ride with the cop and they drive out to this farm. And on the way there, they are really pondering what could be killing these animals. Could it be coyotes, wolves? It has to be one of the two. So they get out, they examine these dead cattle. It's dark out. So you do see like the dead ripped up carcasses, but it is dark. And Harlan suggests that it could be wolves, but one thing he notices right away, because remember he is the premier biologist in the country, is that the bite marks, the radius of the bite marks are inconsistent. So he's like, that leads me to believe that it's multiple types of predators, not just a wolf, because if it was a wolf, the radiuses would be the same, right? But then he's like, you know what? I don't know because I can't see shit anyways. Let's come back tomorrow when it's light out. I need a beer.
I need a beer.
Like, I love
the
it.
Perfect conclusion to this moment. That's exactly what you want to hear from this premier scientist. But you're right. It's dark. There's a lot of dark sequences here in the film. It's 1977. It's not crystal clear. Sometimes it works in the film's favor. There's several moments that start off really dark. I'm like, oh, here's going to be a scene that I'm not going to see any shit that happens. And honestly, like when you do see some of these guts and gore and everything, it's actually pretty impressive. Like even this cow, like that looks like they used real cow guts. Like, it looks pretty gross. And so when they show this footage and they show this blood and they show these wounds, you're not getting an extreme amount of it, but it doesn't look bad. It's not, sometimes the blood is electric red. Again, it's 1977. But I do like when I do see violence in this film, starting from the shot of this cow going forward. I'm pretty satisfied with what I see here. There's a lot of visceral moments coming up. And sometimes in these movies, you kind of expect that you're not going to see anything at all. And like, I think like, from the moment you see this kind of shocking visual of this dead cow, this movie continues with the shocking visuals. This movie continues with amping up the gore, amping up the violence as much as it can within its restricted abilities to do so during that era. It's still giving you some really impressive gore. And so I will say that I think that is one of the strengths. I'll check that box off here. The violence, the gore, the blood, when you see it, I think it looks pretty fucking good.
Yeah, I agree. For 77, absolutely. I also like the fact that we are just kind of thrown into the midst of this as well. This has been going on. People are aware of it. They haven't figured out exactly what's causing it. And we, the audience, have already been giving all these little clues to kind of fit everything together. The next day, we see a car driving down a highway. And this scene goes on for a long time. And it's really an interesting choice because we don't see the actors. We hear them, but instead of like being in the car with them, we're just following the car down the road through this whole huge conversation. Basically, the conversation is Harlan giving Fitzgerald the scoop on the college because this is going to be Fitzgerald's first day as a professor. So Harlan's giving him the scoop. He's like, hey, I know you came here with high hopes, but don't get your hopes up too high because this place, it's full of dreamers, not doers. That's one thing you're going to learn right away is all your colleagues talk a big game, but they don't do anything. And Fitzgerald says, well, why are you still here? And Harlan's response is, well, because security, and I believe in trying to change the system. Like, I'm on a crusade. This has a reputation for being the best biology school in the nation. I want to make sure that happens. And then I like this. Oh my God, because I was thinking to myself, wow, this whole conversation that Harlan has with Michael here, where he starts bitching about the quality of work from students. His students are lazy. They can't read. Fitzgerald's going to be horrified by their use of grammar. They can't do basic arithmetic. I was like, okay, this is stuff that teachers bitch about now and act like it's a new thing. Like, oh, kids today, they can't read, they can't write, they get to college and they can't. This was 1977. This was almost 50 years ago. Shit has been like this for more than 50 years. This has been a complaint from teachers since the dawn of time. It's not a new thing. And that's just hammered it home for me, hearing this.
Yeah. It's an interesting point with the dialogue that he's making. I am going to pivot back. One thing I want to acknowledge, the whole moment of that cow discovery before, I just want to point this out. They keep cutting to this tiny little like terrier dog.
Oh yeah, it's terrified.
I was like, but I was also like, please tell me that, let the outcome be that the terrier did this. Like, upon my first viewing, I was like, please God, let there be a terrier attack scene or like Shih Tzus. Give me tiny dogs bringing down a cow, 5 of them. They're mauling the cow. They're gnawing on its ankles. They get it to drop and they just go to town on it. Doesn't happen.
Like little piranhas.
That was my hopes and dreams when I saw
little
that
chihuahuas.
dog.
I can picture chihuahuas just going. Little wiener dogs. Can you imagine wiener dogs tearing the shit out of people? Oh,
have you ever heard that story about that woman who owned that French bulldog? And I mean, a tiny French bulldog, and the French bulldog had like been showing signs of aggression, but she's like, we're going to work through it. And then it mauled her to death. A French bulldog. I don't know how a French bulldog gets up high enough to maul somebody, but it killed the woman. It killed her. So these things can happen.
Was she elderly? I mean, I would feel like I could fight a French bulldog. I
think I could too, but not in this world. Not in the world of dogs, 1977 dogs. Absolutely not. You can't fight these dogs off. They're coming for you. This whole scene, this whole car sequence, it made me think of the opening of Night of the Living Dead, where you have that long, drawn-out driving sequence, but it's building an ominous mood. It's establishing this kind of eerie, desolate setting. And so, that's a very memorable sequence. This is just one long shot of this car driving down a hill, up a hill, around a corner, into a parking lot, parking. And it is so fucking hard to watch. It's so boring. I literally I sent Troy a screenshot. I was like, what the fuck? This car has been driving for 7 minutes. What artistic choice is being made here? Why can't we see the men having this dialogue that is actually important dialogue, I think, to really establish how this guy feels about this campus and his experience here. I think that it's a value to hear these two men start to form a relationship. Why would you just fucking let it linger on this car for this long extended shot? It just seems like a really weird choice, and it is not pleasant to watch.
No, well, yeah, it finally arrives at the college.
3 days later.
3 days later, the guys get out, and you do see in the distance, you see like a building that has like fences around it. And Fitzgerald's like, "Oh, what is that building over there? Is that part of our campus?" And Harlan says, "No, that's the linear accelerator that the government installed." What the fuck? And Fitzgerald's like, "Oh, I would really like to check that out sometime." Harlan says, absolutely not. The thing is more secured than goddamn Fort Knox. You are not even getting anywhere near it.
We never see it.
We never see it.
We don't know. I don't even know what this thing is. I don't know what it does. I don't know how it operates, but they sure don't fucking show it. They talk about it plenty. You'd think they'd get there. I was really thinking I was like, there's no way that the final 15 minutes of this movie is not about these fuckers getting to this goddamn accelerator and blowing it up or something, set it on fire with all the dogs. They talk about it, but you never see it. So that's, just factor it out of the equation moving forward. It's there, it's important, but it doesn't matter enough to show it.
No. Speaking of talking a lot, the next scene, I mean, we are just bombarded with scene after scene of just drawn out dialogue. We basically listen to one of Fitzgerald's entire lectures.
Oh my God.
And it could not be any more boring of a topic. You get these college, quote unquote, college age students. Some of these women look like they're 60. You got Harold, or Howard. Is it Howard or Harold?
It's Howard.
Howard.
I can't fucking stand him. I can't stand this fucker.
Oh, we're going to get to him and his
simple
12-pack of cinnamon rolls he downs later on.
I can relate to that, though. Troy. If I'm sneaking off, it's for something like cinnamon rolls. So I hate him. I think I hate Howard because I am him. I think in any given situation, I am the Howard in any social circle, but I find him horribly annoying. There's that woman who you don't see her, and all of a sudden it cuts to her, and it's really jarring because she has these bright purple yarn ribbons in her hair, and they're huge. And she asks a question, it cuts over to her, and you're like, "Holy shit, those ribbons!" Distractingly purple. So there's that. And all these kids just seem difficult, which I think is the point, because he's saying, he's like, oh my God, I can't stand this school, I can't stand this campus, I can't stand the students. And so there's a bunch of simpletons, and that fucking Howard's leading the pack.
But how did they get into the premier biology school in the nation? You trying to tell me these kids were accepted?
Troy, you're a teacher. You tell me. Is this? I feel like you see this more often than you care to admit. You see kids making it into colleges they don't deserve to be in because their parents paid for it.
This is
whatever it may be.
This is a whole classroom full of
whole new playing field with these fuckers. So these kids, I mean, they're at least they're having dialogue with the professor that I guess it merits educational purposes, but I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And they're talking about different animals. They're talking about monkeys. They're talking about all these different species and how pheromones work. And I don't know much about pheromones. I know pheromones are basically what different species give off in whatever way to attract the opposite gender. But I think they could have really captured at that and not tried to give me this full lesson. They could have spent this time doing something a lot more exciting, because right now at this point in the movie they are losing my attention.
Yes, I started to really lose interest here, and basically his lecture is about pheromones basically being able to impact behaviors of certain animals, so it can cause them to actually become like hive mind, so they have a collective mind. It's basically a group is controlled by like one hive mind because of pheromones. That is the gist of this entire lecture. And he does sort of, I guess, illustrate it here at the end of the scene with an anthill. He sprays some scent into an ant, but we don't see what happens. We don't see if how the ants react, because it just cuts away.
Because he started talking about exoskeletons and shit, and that's completely not warranted in this movie. There are no exoskeletons that form on these dogs, to be clear. So you don't need to start drifting into that territory, because my mind is already overwhelmed. And yet the kids are asking questions, and I don't know. I really think that this was not necessary. I think the thing is they're trying to create a bit of an attachment or a relationship with the students, because there is like a storyline that comes into play about trying to keep the campus safe. And so I think the purpose of this scene was to create a bit of connectivity with the students, but none of them are likable, so it doesn't work in the film's favor, you know?
So after this whole pheromone lecture that results in nothing, we cut back to Harlan, who is back at Farmer Larry's house. He did live up to his word, because he's there now. It's daylight, so we're observing now the animals with daylight. We can see more of what was happened to them, and they were tore apart pretty aggressively. And Harlan concludes that he does not think this was wolves or coyotes, because they weren't fed on. It looks like the predators just killed them to kill. So it can't be coyotes, because coyotes will feed on their prey. And he then like, I need to go and figure out, what this could be. And in the meantime, Larry says, well, I'm going to get my gun and I'm going to kill the son of bitches. So that evening, Larry is out there in his pasture with his gun, protecting his cattle. We hear some growling and barking noises, and then you see this silhouette of all of these dogs appearing on the horizon. And before Larry can do anything, these motherfuckers charge him and attack him and like viciously rip him apart, as his own little fluffy Shih Tzu or whatever that thing is just sits there and watches in complete horror.
This rancher Larry, what's his story? I want to know more about this guy. He can't act his way out of a fucking paper bag. Thank God he's gone pretty quick. But he takes the matter into his own hands, and he's quickly dispatched. And you've been kind of, you've definitely been waiting for this. I mean, after the last few scenes, holy fuck, thank God they're getting to a kill. But I will say, once you get to the point where he's out there in the dark and he starts to hear the sounds of them in the distance, and then he gets attacked, these are the moments where the film does hit a stride. And I think one of the coolest things about this movie and how it handles these sequences is it definitely lets them take their time building, and also takes its time lingering on the attack footage. And this first attack, it's dark, it's hard to see, there's a lot of flashlight involved, but it does add, I think, to the frenzied energy of the moment. The way they cut it and edit it, what you're seeing here is really actually pretty shocking. You're seeing the guy screaming, he's missing a tooth. I'm sure that came with the package deal with Larry, but it's just the look of him covered in blood, his face covered in blood as this grown man starts shrieking is rather horrifying. And I think one thing worth noting here is, as you unpack this very convoluted storytelling that they have over the course of this film, at its core, what the reasoning and motivation for what's happening, what the story they're trying to tell here actually is honestly, I think, rather interesting. The fact that some tool or whatever it is that's implemented is affecting pheromones that are being given off and triggering these animals into this collective, agitated, aroused, and thus aggressive state is really, I think, pretty terrifying. I do think this film and what it's trying to do and the motivations behind why the dogs are acting this way, and it not being their fault, it's just because they are so worked up and agitated because of these pheromones and the things that they thus do in a pack mentality because of that, I think is really cool. I wish they didn't over-explain it to the point that I hate that aspect of the story. I think they really did themselves a great disservice, because as you start to see what's happening, once you see these dogs go into attack mode, it is shocking, and it is going to deliver for you as a viewer. If you're looking for a wild killer dog movie, when they do let that happen here, I think it's actually rather great, and I do think the sequence is rather scary.
It is, and I think the sound effects, not only from the dogs, the growling sound effects, but also like the shrieks from the people being attacked, really sell the attack sequences. Because if you're really paying attention to some of the dog attacks, you can totally tell the dogs are just playing. Like it becomes really obvious that they're just like nudging the people and they're just playing. They're trained to do this, and it's very obvious. If it weren't for these blood curdling screams and just horribly vicious growling noises, I honestly don't think these attacks would be as effective, because it would just look like a dog playing with its owner. I also think what's interesting is like some of the dogs that the dogs only get affected when they get around other dogs, because lots of people in the film have dogs that are kept away from other dogs and they're not affected. Like this poor little thing that's watching its owner being ripped apart. It's just sitting there shivering helplessly. Carolyn has a dog. We have to acknowledge that doesn't get affected. And it becomes a thing where if you have a dog, keep it inside, keep it away from other dogs. Do not let it get attracted to the howls, because once it gets with the group, it's going to become part of the collective. And I think that's a really interesting thing.
Yes. It's a shame that they bloated it so much, because at its core, it's quite good.
It is, and I would have loved to have seen like a scene where one of the non-affected dogs like jumps in to try to save the day, and how that would have looked, but we never get that. But yeah, this poor Larry Ludecki is ripped apart on his farmland, and hey, we think Roger. Hell yeah, the film is kicking into killer dog gear now. It's going to be smooth sailing from here. And then we get this next scene, which is...
you mean where they're singing that fucking round?
Oh my God. Roll over. You got fucking Howard leading the pack singing this song in this bar. This bar scene goes on and on. And ultimately, the dialogue has nothing to do with what's happening in the film. It's just to cause some tension, like sexual tension between Carolyn and Harlan, because the direction of the conversation goes to basically sex. Because what happens is, like, one of the guys, Robbie, is talking about how he just watched a movie about giant ants and giant lizards, and like, how cool would that be? And so Harlan has to butt in, because of course he's there getting drunk, and talk about the scientific, what do you want to say? Scientific rationale for why that could never happen. Like why you cannot have giant lizards and giant ants, because their exoskeletons can only get so big. So basically this film was written by an ignorant screenwriter, he says.
Oh, he's such a fucking wet blanket. But again, that fucking round, I'm going to say it right now. Why in God's name, if you're going to put a scene with a round in a film where people are singing, why would you put that fucking round in? Because it's absolutely no variation in melody. It's just the same thing. They're just screaming it relentlessly, like there are three in the bed and the little one said roll over, and one roll over and one fell out. There was two in the bed and the little one. I'm like, I wanted to put a gun in my mouth. And then that chunky boy, Howard's back. He's like, well, can I sit on your lap? No, you'll break my legs. How fucking dare you even ask me, sir, to sit on my lap, you dumpling man. You look like a Humpty Dumpty, like this round, chubby-cheeked little man asking this poor woman if he can crush her legs sitting on her lap. But these kids are foolish, and you could tell that Harlan has no time for this nonsense. He is just over it. And yeah, he's a wet blanket, and it's kind of like poo-poo on the party, but also like, yeah, fucking like, I hear it. These fuckers are annoying. I wouldn't want to be working around these kids either. They all seem very unpleasant. I get why he's miserable.
Well, his night's about ready to take another turn, because the cop comes back in to tell him that Larry was just killed and it was horrible. So he proceeds to ask Carolyn to come to the morgue with him. So they go to the morgue, and we get this Carl dude Well, basically, it's the hospital. This is a small town, so they have a hospital attached, and the morgue is in the basement. So you see at the hospital, there's this student named Carl who's tripping on acid, like big time. Like he can't even sit up or talk. And Harlan asks the doctor, I need to see Larry's body. And the doctor's like, oh, I'm busy. He's dead. He's downstairs in the morgue. Go down there and look at him. And so he takes Carolyn down to the morgue with him to look at the dead body. I mean, I don't know. Carolyn's an English professor, right? So what's the purpose of having this poor woman go down and look at this mold mutilated body? Because it does her no favors, because when they're down there, guess what happens? The lights go out and this bitch screams. And you are right. This scream is so fucking grating. She screams and she like literally takes off running out of the building.
Well, this whole opening bit with this kid Carl tripping on acid goes on way too long, and I mean, I guess you know what, I'm not gonna bitch about it. I think it's a funny little shtick, but like they just let it linger, and then Harlan comes and he's like, "Show me this body," and they're like, "We're clearly dealing with this kid who's tripping balls." And he's like, "Show me the body," and the doctor's like, "Somebody take him down there." And it just, I don't know. This film has a lot of little moments in it that just add to runtime that I think like just linger too long. Another moment later on is like when when they go to the cop station and they find the guns, and then you see them go find the bullets, and then they're loading the guns, and they're like you could have just seen the guy grab the gun and cut to the next moment and skimmed about a minute and 30 seconds out of that, and it could have moved a lot faster. So I think that like the bloat isn't just in the dialogue, but it's just in some of the things that they let linger for a little bit too long here. And this would be an example of that for me. But I mean, at least it is getting him now into the situation to kind of explore further that this is becoming a widespread incident. And that's what we've been wanting to get to. And so this whole bit with her, you're absolutely right. She shouldn't be there. And her reaction to this is very obnoxious. Like, this is when you realize that this woman cannot handle stress at all. She is not someone you want by your side through a traumatic event. Like, I was really hoping that this character, Carolyn, would maybe step up a little bit, but like, this is all she's going to bring to the table. And she is just, I mean, she's lame, man. She's fucking lame. And so they run outside. He chases after her and he's comforting her. And she shouldn't have been there, right? But you're a grown woman. Just fucking, you can handle it. And she just can't. She can't handle it. And so I don't know. That's what we get from her. That's the most we're going to get from this character. She can't handle shit.
Yeah, she's like, I didn't expect to see a ripped apart body. And why do you want to see the body so bad? Why'd you have to come here? He said, because Larry's cattle have been killed for the last several weeks, and now he's dead. And I think there's a connection, and I think it's some sort of animal. This motorcyclist drives by them as you see him like lead her away, comfort her, take her to his car. This motorcycle is driving down the road, and there's all of a sudden you literally see a roadblock of dogs of all varieties. You got a boxer, you got a fucking Great Dane, you got a black lab, you got a little Shih Tzu, you got a whole bunch of them just sitting in the roadway, blocking the road. And so the motorcycles, he's like, "What are you guys doing out here?" And he like slams on his brake, and he crashes his motorcycle in the middle of the street. And these dogs immediately descend upon him and start tearing him apart.
I mean, this poor kid. He's one of the students. I think he's leaving the bar that they were just at. So, and yeah, and he looks like a gay man with a gay mustache. He's on this motorcycle, and this poor gay man gets like wrecked, and immediately these dogs start mauling him. And then, lo and behold, like an angel from the heavens, this woman wearing nothing but pink comes outside. This delicate elderly woman comes out, and she's, her dog starts getting agitated. And so she's like, "Get back inside." And then she comes out, she's like, "Oh, you stop that." And she sees this poor man getting his throat ripped out. And so she goes to respond accordingly, screaming. And then out of nowhere, it's an Irish setter, right? That fucking just football style tackles this woman to the ground. Now, clearly this is a body double, I'm sure, but I mean, listen, I give him credit for trying here, because yes, there are plenty of moments where you see this poor kid in this motorcycle jacket with the fucking like padded arm underneath it protecting him, like as the dogs are quote unquote mauling him. But there is something to be said about the visual of an elderly woman getting literally dragged into the night as she's screaming bloody murder. Like her screams are literally like, "Oh God, oh please, help me, God!" Like she's shrieking, and
Uh,
there's
but
an aspect of it that's laughable, but there's also an aspect of it that's
it's
absolutely
horrifying.
horrific. It's terrifying.
You'd see her legs get dragged out of the frame.
And she's dragged to her death, and her body's never
It's
found. So
never.
I'm guessing she's
Did they eat her?
picked to the bone. I mean, I'm sure they ate this woman. But the kid. One of the things I do think about this moment that really is quite effective is as the woman becomes the focus of the dogs, they all turn on her. The kid starts to try to get up to assist, and then he collapses and dies. And there was this little detail. I love that people don't always die right away when they're mauled here, like as would be the case. Like he tries to get up and flee, and he just collapses.
Yeah, no, he gets to his motorcycle and he's trying to pull himself up, and you see blood pouring from his neck. And then he just collapses and dies. And I mean, yeah, it's this scene is something else. When that fucking Irish setter tackled that poor woman to the ground, she it looks like she just had her nice pink dress all pressed for the evening, and she's literally. But her screams sell it.
The last person I expected to see get mauled by a dog is this debutante of a woman just strutting outside in that fashionable pink ensemble. Like it really is. I think the reason this is so shocking is because like up to this point there hasn't been a ton of human dog on human violence, and the fact that you get a double kill and it's a student and an elderly woman, it's just wow, it was kind of jarring. In a good way, though. I say that like I wasn't expecting it to crank it up to that, and it does maintain that moving forward. It maintains that same level of aggression towards people. It doesn't hold its punches, and I think that is one of the reasons that while this movie has plenty of bad elements about it, I wouldn't say this is a bad viewing experience, because when it does get into these moments, it sells it. It really does.
Yeah. So Harlan drops Carolyn off at her house. And this is when she does invite him in. She's like, I have all kinds of alcohol. She knows she knows how to lure him. She knows a way to his heart. It's by promising him alcohol.
So he immediately perks up. Like he's like,
He's
no,
like,
no,
what?
no. And then she's like, I got cold beer. And he like whips his head around at her, and he's like, oh, okay. But he still opts to not go in. I mean, I think it's pretty clear he still has feelings for her. She obviously still cares about him, but I think his own demons are just affecting him too much to allow him to truly be invested.
But I also think that because her little dog Cricket runs outside and runs past him to go to the bathroom, and he immediately fixates on Cricket. And I think the wheels in his mind start to turn in terms of connecting the dots in terms of what could be killing these animals and these people. He's seeing this dog and he's distracted. And I think that's one of the reasons why he also declines to go into her house, because he has now this new idea in his mind about what could be going on, because he leaves and he immediately goes to campus and finds Michael, to tell him that he thinks that this very well could be canines.
These two sound so pretentious when they're arguing, because they both, I mean, of course, they're both fucking nationally recognized scientists, whatever the fuck they're considered, doctors, scientists. Okay. Sure. Yeah. But they sure talk like it. This is a full dick size contest between the two of them, fucking sparring at each other. But eventually they kind of hit a rhythm with what they're talking about. And this is kind of the point where they're now, there comes a point in the film where they stop kind of working against each other and start working in unison. And that is really where their relationship does thrive. Like I said this a little bit earlier, and this is the point for me where you can tell they're like, okay, I think we're on the same page now. What do we think is causing this? And so I do like the two of them as a pair. I think they play off each other fairly well. But I'm thankful that really, I do think this is the point right now where that banal ongoing dialogue as of up to this scene here is going to start becoming less and less, and the action is going to start picking up more. Thank God.
Thank God, because we're about an hour into the film. So it's about time. So yes. So Harlan gives his theory that this is dogs. And so Michael says, well, they must be being affected by some sort of estrogen pheromone. And as they're discussing this, the phone rings. And Harlan answers it, and it is that doctor from the night before that was rude to him. It's basically calling. First thing he does is apologize. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry for being rude last night. I was dealing with something, but I want to let you know that we found another body, one of your students, and I think that whatever attacked Larry also attacked this kid." So gets off the phone and he tells Fitzgerald, "You know what? I'm almost convinced now that this is dogs. Not wild dogs, domestic dogs, and something is causing them to pack and attack." So they proceed to head on over to President Kopelman's house to tell him about their theory about it being dogs that are killing people and that they need to put out some sort of warning. And of course, like any kind of normal person, the president is like not even entertaining this idea. He's like, "You trying to tell me my little Cocker Spaniel there is going to rip me apart?" He's not even entertaining it.
Well, and the problem here is they have no fucking proof. Like they have a theory, but he even says, he's like, "Where's your proof?" And he's like, "I don't have any proof. This is what I think is happening based off what we're seeing." But understandable that the doctor would be like, "No, I'm not going to act upon this." It is worth noting that this is the same house where the house party took place the night prior. It is worth noting, his wife, Mrs. Koppelman, is a character we've been introduced to a few times. She's the one that Troy mentioned having a spunky personality. Well, that keeps up because as this is happening, as they're having this conversation, it's morning. Meanwhile, Mrs. Koppelman is the guest judge at what is a kindergarten dog show, where these kindergartners are doing this dog show where they're basically walking and doing tricks with their household pets, their dogs. And so it's this cute little setup where it's Mrs. Koppelman and the teacher has this moment where she talks about having been skiing and broken her arm, which doesn't go anywhere. But then after that, we go through this whole lineup of children where we literally meet every single fucking child and we are introduced to each child, and then we meet all their dogs. And by the time we get to Michelle and fucking Dickens, we got all of their names, and the dogs aren't really doing anything, but you kind of are getting this like building sense of agitation in them. But it's going back and forth as you've got Mr. Koppelman being like, "Oh, I refuse to act upon this." You've got this whole kind of building sense of, I don't want to say it's a sense of dread, but there's this definite developing agitation that's developing at this dog show because something's got to give, something's got to happen. Something does happen. It's not as big, I think, as you would want it to be, but I think in the sense of where the story's going, it's maybe the right decision that that's the case. But what does end up happening here for a moment gives you a taste of what I think you really want from this film. And it is something that towards the finale, you do get this again on a way grander scale. I wouldn't say the scene is scary or anything, but once it gets to a point where the humans start to notice that something is wrong, I do like this moment. I think it is actually rather creepy. And it hits a moment here where everyone starts to run that I'm like, "Oh, good. Okay. We're getting some crowd scenes here." That was my hope. I want crowds of people getting attacked by packs of dogs. Give me more.
Yeah, I mean, you had Waldo, Barron, Sundance, Jiggs, Dickens. I really wish you would have seen them go a little bit further, just a tad bit further, than what they did with this scene. Especially because you have high stakes, because children are involved. I really would have liked them to have really kind of pushed the envelope a little bit. They don't. The scene intercuts with them trying to convince Dr. Koppelman, that he needs to basically make an announcement to people and to call and let them know, authorities know what's going on. And he is refusing to do it without proof. Well, then we cut back to the dog show, and the dogs start to get really agitated. They start growling. The teacher notices this. The adults notice it. So the teacher's like, "Children, put the leashes down, step away from the dogs, leave the dogs alone." And all of a sudden, the dogs just start. I don't even want to use the word attacking. They don't attack. They charge, and everyone takes off running. and we see the dogs chasing them, and the crowd runs into the building. We don't necessarily see an attack. Basically, the dogs chase the crowd. We do learn that a couple people were injured, but nobody was killed. We don't see the dogs get anybody down on the ground and maul them or anything like that. But I mean, again, the stakes are a little high because it's kids, and I guess it also shows us how quickly these dogs can turn.
I would say it's like the equivalent of the sequence in The Birds, where you have the group of, like, you've got like the class of kids and everything. They're running, they're running from point to point, and it definitely hits like a fever pitch for a moment. Like, it's chaotic. And when the teacher's like, okay, run, and all these people start running, the film does incorporate a lot of handheld, which feels a bit, I don't want to say ahead of its time, but like every once in a while, it'll go into like this handheld frenzied kind of style of cinematography that really does help these sequences quite a lot because it feels extremely chaotic. But yeah, the fact that this just results in a few people being bit, I understand for the sake of the storyline why they maybe didn't make it more graphic, but I wanted it to be more graphic. I was praying that little girl in that pink gingham dress was going to get mauled by two fucking Labrador retrievers. I was hoping dragged off into the night, like just like that old woman. Kill a child in dogs, but they don't. I get it, okay, but I was crossing my fingers one of those little dumpling children was going to get eaten by a dog.
I mean, that would have been highly effective. I mean, yeah, we don't like to see kids get killed in horror movies, but if you're setting up a whole scene involving kids like this one is, I mean, these kids weren't just like bystanders. You're setting up a whole scene that involves them. They are front and center. So I think you're setting an audience expectation to go one where it doesn't. And I was a little disappointed. I mean, I didn't need to see a kid get mauled, but even like knocked down, right. An adult have to run and try to and rescue the kid. Like nothing happens to any of the kids at all.
No, not even bit.
No,
I would have even just something.
No, I think give me something. I think only two people actually get any injuries from this whole scene, because as we find out back at Culperman's, Harlan's like, you know what? If you're not going to do anything, I'm going to the authorities. Culperman threatens him and says, if you do that, you are out of this school. Well, the phone rings. And basically, it is someone calling President Koppelman to tell him that the kindergarten dog show was attacked. So they rush to the scene. There's a couple people that are bitten. The sheriff's asking the audience, like, what dog was it? A specific dog? Like, what dogs attacked you? And they're like, it was all of them. And Koppelman is trying to justify the situation by saying, oh, the children probably did something to frighten them. What did the children do to cause the dogs to do this? And his wife is like, they didn't do nothing. The dogs just went wild. I was here. Now you get this random Mr. Nichols. I think I don't know, he's maybe one of the fathers of the children. He is basically saying, we need to hunt these dogs. We're going to shoot them. I need a party to come with me, and we are going to hunt these dogs. The sheriff tries to beg him not to do it. He's like, no, don't do it. It's night out. It's going to be dangerous. You don't know what you're shooting at. Mr. Nichols is like, okay, well, this can be resolved if you go with us. Like, you join us. And he does. He's like, this sheriff is more than willing to go join these guys in hunting down people's pets.
He's reluctant. I feel bad for the sheriff, but he agrees to do it to, I think, keep the group safe and appease them, because understandable, there's a pack of dogs that just attacked a crowd of people. I get why people want to be proactive here. It's also worth noting that Sheriff Jimmy, rather attractive. Not a lot of hot guys in this movie. I'm going to say it right now. He's the closest thing we get. So I like him. You don't get a lot of them, but at least he looks good while he's doing it. And this is kind of going back and forth at the moment now where Mrs. Koppelman is finally putting her foot down with Mr. Koppelman. I like this dame. And she's like, you are calling the governor. You're getting him on the phone. You're going to talk to him. You're going to tell him what happened. And you've got this whole prolonged bit where Mr. Koppelman is dragging on this phone conversation with the governor because he's intimidated by him. And it keeps going and going. And it's kind of annoying, but also like I kind of appreciate the humor in it. Like, he is really trying to dodge this conversation by like asking the governor about what breed of dog he has, all these stupid questions. And finally, Mrs. fucking Koppelman is sick of it. And she grabs the phone and she's like, Governor, 2 people are dead. And I don't know what you're doing, but you're fucking doing it. And she puts her heeled foot down. And I say, good on you, broad, for grabbing the bull by the balls and just really getting this shit taken care of. Because if she wouldn't have done that, that conversation could have gone on for another 20 minutes, and I believe this film would have done it.
I love how you can see her getting more and more visibly annoyed and making comments under her breath like, "Oh, really? Fucking yeah." I guess I don't know what they expect the governor of the state to do. But yeah, they call him. They let him know 2 people have been murdered by dogs, and the governor, I guess, his response is he's going to send some people from the Department of Animal Regulation to the town to see what they can drum up. So basically, it looks like Harlan and Fitzgerald have convinced Koppelman to let them use his dog for this experiment. So they make this makeshift wooden crate for this dog and cover it in plastic. And they put this dog in there. And what they're going to do is, I guess, release various pheromones into this kettle to see how the dog reacts. I'm not really sure like what this experiment is supposed to be proving, what they're using, like how do they know what pheromone is affecting the dog? There's a lot of stuff in this that I'm like, what the hell are they doing to this poor dog in this crate? And there's a comment like, oh, well, if this works, then we're going to be able to just spray this pheromone all over town. We'll get dust croppers and we'll get the National Guard and they'll just spray this new pheromone all over town to lessen the effect of the dogs.
What I'm gathering here is that they have a sample of whatever it is that is being utilized with that. What is the name of that fucking thing?
But
again?
Where did they get it? The linear thing, accelerator?
Well, the school is working directly with it, so I'm assuming they had access, but I would have liked to have had that explained too, Troy, is the thing. Is that this is where the plot, like, you're going to give me a lot of word salad about what this thing does, but you're not going to ever take me there or take these characters there or show any connection with it. So I'm confused now as to how they got access to this pheromone. So they put this poor fucking dog in this goddamn plastic cage, and then they just pump it with pheromones, which I'm guessing is got to be the same thing that's being used with this accelerator. And it doesn't go well. I mean, I'll say that. The dog eventually does end up flipping its shit and tearing through the plastic and running off to join the pack of dogs. But yeah, this seems really under-explained. For a movie that does a lot of over-explaining, this is one moment where I was like, you could have just set this up a little bit better for me, so I understand what what's the end game here. But it sounds like that they're planning to determine that if this pheromone is what is causing the dogs to react, to then get another pheromone to spray to basically overwhelm that specific pheromone, because that's the one that's making the dogs reactive. So they are then in place going to find an alternative pheromone to spray that will be more potent, I guess. I don't know how you even describe these things, but that's the goal. It doesn't matter because they never get to that point in the phase in the game plan.
Yeah, and it would seem like if you were going to do an experiment to really fit the situation at hand, you would use more than one dog, right? To see what the effect it would have on more than one dog. I mean, one dog isn't killing people in this town. It's a packed mind. So why would you just use one dog? Right. So in the woods, these fucking guys, Roger, that wanted to go out and do this hunt, they use that as a guise of going out in the woods and getting drunk, because that's what they're doing. Like now they're just sitting around a fire, drinking booze. The sheriff's like, dudes, I don't want you drinking. They're like, oh, it's just one drink. What do you care? And he's like, because if you guys have to fight something, if I need to rely on you, I don't want you to be drunk. And then all of a sudden you hear the noises in the distance, like the growling, the howlings. It's the dogs, but to me it doesn't really sound like dogs, which makes it more unsettling. It's just like just a cacophony of different noises that is really unsettling.
There is a defined sound that is used to portray the howls of the dogs when they are being under the influence of the pheromones, and it does not sound like a standard dog howl. It definitely sounds different. And the men point that out. They're like, "That what is that?" And so this buildup is actually quite nice. I really thought this scene was going to be like a muddy mess. It was going to be super dark and hard to see. But in this case, they play the darkness into their favor. And they're even like, "Okay, it's getting closer. Put the fire out." Like, they're going to see us put the fire out. We need to make it dark. But before they can actually set themselves up to defend themselves, the group is attacked by dogs. And again, this is another moment where it kind of exceeded my expectations a bit. Seeing these men bloodied on the ground screaming, and the sheriff, eventually the last man standing, has to take off running. He shoots a couple of the dogs. This whole moment here is, again, pretty shocking. And it's I don't want to say it's more of the same. I mean, it's not like these dogs are going to start using weapons or anything, so it is more of the same, but they do it in such an effective way that it is kind of scary watching these men getting just torn apart. It's not like you're seeing these big gaping wounds, but you're seeing their screaming faces covered in blood, and it's really intense.
It goes on for a long time, and if I don't mind any scene going on for a long time in this film, it's this one. Because you're right, it is really unsettling, and I think they use the dark to their advantage, like you said, because of the fact of what I mentioned before. In a lot of these dog attack scenes, you can totally tell it's fake. I think the darkness covers a lot of that up, so you're literally seeing just like silhouettes of these dogs on top of these men, and then you're just hearing their screams, their shrieks of pain and terror, and you're hearing the dogs just rip flat. It's really effective. And the sheriff, yeah, he's listening to the whole thing, and he takes off running, and he's attacked. And to parallel the motorcycle guy from earlier, the same thing happens to the sheriff. He's attacked, he's ripped, his throat's bit, but he's able to get away and crawl to his police car. And just as he reaches for his radio, he succumbs to his injuries and dies halfway into his police car, which I thought was super effective.
One of my favorite things about this film is how they handle like people when they're attacked by the dogs. Like even earlier with Larry, this is one thing we didn't mention, but like it's mentioned when it's disclosed that Larry died, that after his attack, he crawled to the nearby gas station and died there. And to me, that's even more terrifying because, like, yeah, to me, it's reasonable that people would not die immediately from their wounds. They would like bleed out, from the violence of the wounds. But like that's very much the case here. And I love that as the sheriff is like, he realizes they're overwhelmed. He goes to run, and as he's like fleeing into the darkness and tripping, you hear the screams still in the background. Like you still hear the men getting killed. So yes, he's attacked by a Doberman. It's rather aggressive, like what you see him get bit, and then he shoots the Doberman, and then he stands up. And when he stands up, the bite mark, as he angles, all this blood starts just pouring out of it. And it is like, oh, fuck. And I like this character. I thought he was going to make it back. But the fact that he makes it to the car and he doesn't even manage to radio for help, he dies right there. I thought like he was going to come back and save the day. And no, this dude just died in his car. And I'm like, wow, that feels very realistic to me, the way this all plays out. It's not like you just saw these dogs tear this guy apart limb from limb. He got some pretty vicious wounds and he ended up bleeding out in his car. That seems pretty realistic. So I do think this is a pretty darn good sequence. And I think that conclusion, this poor guy just dying there in his vehicle, it makes for a strong conclusion.
Yeah, I mean, just seconds before he gets his hand on his radio, he dies. Back at their experiment, Fitzgerald has dozed off. And in the one slight moment of any personality that Harlan shows, it's right here. Because he growls and barks at Fitzgerald to wake him up. And I was like, oh my God, you're finally getting some personality, some humorous personality from this dude. And of course, yeah. Fitzgerald jerks awake. He gives him some coffee. All of a sudden in that cage, we hear the howl. We hear the howls in the distance. And then the dog inside the crate starts to get unsettled. And before you know it, this dog is literally going nuts and breaks its way out of this wooden crate. And it literally takes off running towards the sound of the howls into the darkness. And Fitzgerald is like, they're just watching in disbelief. And when the dog darts off, Fitzgerald says, that was the most terrifying thing I've ever seen in my life.
I mean, the dog literally tears through the plastic and runs off. And like, yeah, I'm sure that would be very scary, but the dog does not do anything to them at all. It's more, I think, the howling being this ominous sound that they hear, which is obviously coming from the attack that's happening elsewhere off campus, but they could hear it in the distance. So the dog runs off to join that. And it really does seem like the men being out at night searching for these dogs is kind of what draws them in the direction of the campus. Because now, as we kind of come to find that everything that's been happening on the outskirts, on the farms and everything, is now about to get drawn over to the campus, and we're about to have our first like in-home invasions. And I do think like this is when the movie really picks it up, because once these dogs start to become a threat on campus, in people's houses, the violence is brought indoors. It's not in the darkness, it's not in the night, it's not out in the desert, it's right there in people's houses. This does become a pretty strong film. And there's several scenes here coming up that, like, I mean, imagine just being stand butt naked in a shower and a fucking Doberman comes out of fucking nowhere and starts attacking you. Tell me what you're gonna do. Tell me what you would do. I would die. And it is really, actually, these scenes coming up here are pretty fucking good.
No, I thought it was cool. It's basically the shower scene, but with a Doberman instead of Mrs. Bates. Because we cut to Miss Charlotte Ingle being dropped off by that Mr. Antry, Professor Antry, and he wants to come in. And she is, I mean, for a broad that was painted as being as horny as she was in the beginning of the film, she literally wants nothing to do with him. She does not want him to come in. She tells him, I want to see you again at school. So I don't know what he did to her. I would have loved to have seen how this date went south, because at the beginning of this film, this bitch was all about getting fucked, and now she is not even entertaining it. So he must have did something to her, because she even tells him, I have a headache. And she leaves. She goes inside.
I find it so strange that, like, they gave her a good amount of focus at the start of the film, both of these teachers, and then you never see them again until this moment. And I think these are characters that would have done well with one or two more scenes just to explore this relationship developing between them. Because you're right, it seems so weird that for being such a horny broad earlier, she wants nothing to do with this guy. I'm guessing she knows he's a homosexual. And so she's like, what's the point? But he's being really aggressive with her, and she's like, no, absolutely not. And I like that about her character even more. I think that for the little bit we get with the character of Charlotte, she's probably one of my favorite characters in the film, which is disappointing because you don't get a lot with her. But I love how she handles the sequence. And so he's got like his tail between his legs. He like stomps off. And there is this cool moment on the lawn where he starts to hear the howls. And I was like, oh, please let this fucker get killed. But no, he gets in his car, he drives away. And it ends up being her that becomes the focus of the scene, which is disappointing. I wish he would have died. He was not likable. But I do like this moment of him being like, what the fuck am I hearing? And he just gets in his car and drives the fuck away. You never see him again, but that would be me.
He headed out
of there.
He got out of town. Yeah. And poor Charlotte, she just wants to take a shower. The whole time, her sliding glass door is wide open. Like, who leaves their sliding glass door wide open? And how would you not notice it? But
well, I think it's her home in like California on this nice campus, a nice summer day. She's showering, breast to the wind. I don't know. I guess you know how you feel safe in your house. You live in like a hot climate, and like you're in Nevada. You're in Vegas. Yeah,
Nevada. Yeah.
So of course, like I wouldn't leave my door open because I'd be like, scorpions are going to come inside. I don't know. For me, living in the Midwest in the summer, like. To me that doesn't seem weird because we always.
But there's no screen on it. It's like wide open. Like anybody can walk in and out. And what happens is she gets in the shower, and of course this Doberman sneaks in and
slips right in there
while she's I mean, we basically get the shower scene from Psycho.
Only more terrifying. You can imagine looking over and seeing a rabid Doberman just fucking barking at you.
This Doberman goes into the shower and literally attacks this woman. I mean, we see it biting her arm, and ultimately it kills her. It leaves her dead and bloodied on the shower floor before it just walks out like Mrs. Bates.
It's quick, but they just show just enough. Like, I love the shot of her arm covered in blood as she's trying to protect herself, and then he like lunges. You don't see like what the death blow is. I'm guessing a bite to the throat, but you do see that shot of her wrapped in the plastic, like the curtain laying on the floor. They give you just enough, but it is like truly like she looks over and that dog is there, and I would have shat
Oh,
myself in that shower. Like holy fuck. And yeah, it really is like just a terrifying concept of a violent animal just attacking you in your most vulnerable state. And you know what I like is like she's nude, but I don't think we see any, you don't see breasts or anything. This really is about the vulnerable nature of being alone, nude in your shower, wet, with no means to protect yourself and being attacked by an animal. I really think that they played this moment right. They didn't make it sexually gratuitous, they just made it violent.
yeah, it's really violent. It's really disturbing because, yeah, a dog attacking you while you're naked. Oof. Especially a Doberman. And this Doberman, yeah, when it's growling and just snarling its teeth, it is quite terrifying. But she is tore apart in her shower. Harlan and Fitzgerald get to the police station. They go inside. Nobody's there. They're like rifling through, trying to figure out where anybody could be. When Fitzgerald opens the closet and one of the dead deputies falls out of the closet.
I love this because it looks like there had been an attack in the police station, and that the deputy was attacked because he's mauled,
Mm-hmm.
but you could tell he had locked himself in the closet to defend himself and died in there,
Yeah.
up against the door. So they open the door, the body just drops out. The dogs have already come and gone, but this is a nice moment here where you can kind of be like, okay, now we explain how these men arm themselves. Now we like have an understanding that the police force there on campus has been killed. The sheriff is dead. This deputy is dead. So it's really a matter of taking things into their own hands. They really drag out this whole bit here in the station, though, as they're like getting the guns. They're unlocking the guns from the wall. They're grabbing bullets. Like, I think they could have probably shaved like a minute off of the scene and
Yeah.
it's still giving me the same impact. But I like how they explain that now these men realize like the stakes are high and there's no one else coming to help.
No. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, they find, don't they find another dead police officer too, I think. And they're like, shit, that we have to get out of here. They grab the guns, they grab the bullets, they get into a car, they're driving down the road and they drive by Dr. Koppelman's house, and right on his front lawn, he's being attacked by his Irish setter.
The poor man screaming, help me, help me. Michael comes up looking like a deer in headlights. And this is probably one of my favorite developments I've seen in a movie today. I love that this happens. Michael raises the gun to go to help Mr. Koppelman, trying to shoot the dog. I'm guessing Michael's never fired a gun in his life. And he accidentally shoots and kills Mr. Koppelman. And I think that's great. I think that's a wonderful development. Poor Michael. He didn't mean to do it at all. And then they end up shooting and killing that fucking dog as well, which is, hard to watch. But poor Mr. fucking Koppelman, he was kind of a dick, though. He had it coming. But more so than anybody, Michael, who is traumatized by what just happened. And you never get something like this in movies. Like, everyone always hits the target. I love that this happens.
No, because this seems more realistic. You're not going to be some random biology teacher that's going to be able to shoot a dog that's violently attacking a man on the ground from 100 yards away. Unless you're a good marksman, he shouldn't even have tried, honestly. But yeah, he shoots Mr. Koppelman, kills him. He is a wreck. He's having a breakdown. Harlan has to comfort him and tell him, you need to pull yourself together because I need you. They go into the backyard because they want to find a phone to make some phone calls. So they go around to the back of the house, and fucking poor Mrs. Koppelman's floating in the pool.
That's a pretty striking visual.
She's all
in a film that
sprawled out.
Yeah, she's like just on her back, gaping mouth. Her hair just, it's normally up in an updo, but her hair is just flowing in the water. She's, got blood coming off of her, and it's a really intense visual. I like it quite a lot.
So yeah, Miss Koppelman's dead. They are in high alert now. In fact, Fitzgerald tells Harlan he needs to go find Carolyn. He says, you go find Carolyn. I will go to the college and help the students. If I would have been Harlan, I would be like, hold on a second. You just shot a doctor. I don't really trust you to save the students. But Harlan's all for it. He's like, okay, you take Koppelman's car. He won't mind. So they speed off separate ways. Harlan gets to Carolyn's and tells her to get some things together because we're getting the hell out of here. And of course, while he's doing that, he has to ask her if she has something to drink. Do you have something to drink? Yeah, it's above the dishwasher. So he goes and gets himself a glass of whiskey. And we hear all of a sudden in the distance, more howling, dogs howling. And she has to pick up her little dog Cricket and comfort Cricket because Cricket is like shivering and trembling now.
I do like that the guys split up. I normally feel that the motivation to split people up feels very much like, all right, let's make people again more vulnerable. It's just for the sake of being able to kill somebody off. But here, like, I like the reasoning that he's obviously going to go after her. He still cares about her. And Michael's like, we've got to inform the students. I think that Michael's character at this point has become a pretty stand-up guy. Yes, he just killed somebody, but he feels very bad about it. But like, he's trying to do his very best. And so I think the fact that he's like, I got to go tell the kids and make sure they're safe. Gives him a few points in my book. I like that he takes it upon himself. And so you get to this whole sequence where he's basically at like the dorms. He's in like the I'm guessing what is like the student center. All the kids have been gathered there in their pajamas. And there's this one shot as the camera's sliding by where you see this fucking, you know exactly what I'm saying. You see this shirtless fucking otter looking motherfucker with his hairy chest. And I'm like, is this our new lead? I'm like, can we follow this kid for the rest of the movie? He looks like what, like 2021 hot fucking just piece of Latino beef right up in the camera. And I was like, God damn it. Why couldn't this guy have been the focus? Oh,
What about-
you know what I like, Troy.
I know.
You know what I like.
You got a whole potpourri of different characters. Did you see the one gal doing the whole dance number coming down the stairs?
Oh my God. This is what I wish we were following the movie. As I said this before, like literally make these scientists the subplot and follow a bunch of hot college students as they're fucking their way to a dog mauling. Like, like this could have been so much more entertaining for me, but whatever. I'll take it for what it is. But goddamn, that fuzzy chested. Just looking sexy as fuck. Oh, I wish we could have gotten more of that.
Well, yeah, and Fitzgerald is really trying to take control. He tells the kids that they're going to evacuate the campus tomorrow, but he wants them all to go to the library tonight so that they're all in one central location. And so he's like, gather, get ready. We're going to head over to the library. This is when he's interrupted by a student who tells him that his roommate, Howard, was hungry. Of course he was. And walked over to the cafeteria to get something to eat. So Michael is all like, oh, fuck. Okay, well, guys, wait here. We'll be back. I'm going to go get Howard, and then we'll go to the library.
How is Howard getting more screen time? Out of all the characters in this film, the one I wanted to see more of, the least, would be Howard. And somehow he has this whole dramatic chase sequence. I mean, he's got a lot of action coming up and he's barely keeping up with it. But this whole bit of him, of course, this dumpy dumpling is looking for some nibbles because he walks right up to the fridge. You get this long drawn out bit of him grabbing sweet rolls and milk, and he's setting himself up for a meal. He's singing, "These sweet rolls belong to me," like he's just like singing to himself about these sweet rolls. And you got this whole moment of him like turning around and his dogs are just surrounding this fat kid. And I really was like, cool, so from one big brother to another, I love seeing a portly man become the focus of a scene of fear or intimidation in a horror movie because it's going to go differently. You know that this big boy is going to be having to work a little bit harder to make it through the night. I'm a fat guy. I run slow. I breathe hard too. And this guy, he really has given us the full fat boy experience. He's hoarding his sweet rolls. He gets up on top of this very sturdy table. This table it must be made of nothing but steel and bricks because this table is holding on. This man, for dear life, I mean, those table legs must have been weebling and wobbling. But he gets up on the table. He's coveting these sweet rolls. He refuses to give up these sweet rolls. And then Michael comes busting in the room. He's like, throw the sweet rolls. and Howard hesitates. Like Howard is like, I don't know. I'm a fat character, so I can't give up my sweet rolls. And he's like, throw the fucking sweet rolls. And then he does, and the dogs go running after the sweet rolls. But do you see that moment, Troy? The sadness in Howard's eyes when he realizes that he has to give up his sweet rolls.
He's so forlorn. He wanted those sweet rolls.
I wanted those sweet rolls.
Hey, you know what? I love a good processed sweet roll. Oh, I really do. Especially remember the ones that had like the cherry filling, the Hostess. I could eat a whole 6-pack.
I'm quivering just thinking about it.
But I love when the dogs come in. They're just like looking at Howard like, And Howard's like, what are you guys doing here? And they just start barking at him. And his ass is up on that table. He throws the sweet
That poor
roll.
fucking table.
So he throws the sweet rolls. The dogs go after them. Fitzgerald attempts to shoot one, but the car's out of the gun's now out of bullets. So Roger, he literally beats a dog to death with the shotgun.
It's a single blow. He turns for Michael, who has been a character who has not seemed like someone who I think could really defend himself up to this point. He sure manages to brutally kill that dog with one single blow from the butt of his gun. And then as they run away, you see the dog laying there dead, but you could tell it's totally acting like, am I doing a good job? Like you could see he's just laying there like looking like completely like quote unquote dead, but he's got this big wound in the side of his body. Like Michael butted him so hard with the gun that he literally like concaved his rib cage, like completely just destroyed this poor dog. Okay, Michael, like what a badass, I guess. But this launches into the chase scene that I've been waiting for. And Troy, I mean, if there's one thing I know that you probably must have been just loving is watching that handheld footage of Howard in mid-flight, like running from the cafeteria back to the student center. This whole chase sequence, it's almost hard to watch because this big boy is lagging behind. I mean, he is really winded, this poor man.
And Michael, you know what Michael says to him? Howard, you need to lose some weight. God, what the hell? And Howard's like, oh, it's not because I'm fat. That has nothing to do with it. I have asthma.
Of course you have asthma. You're morbidly obese. And I am a big boy. This is in no way fat shaming, but I have breathing issues when I run too, my friend. I can relate. If that was me being chased by the Irish setter, then I would be breathing just as hard as you, but we got to work on that. And next time this happens, Howard, I really hope that you've taken care of your physical health. Not that you survive, you don't. But if you're ever in this position again, I would hope that you would at least maybe put some cardio into your regimen, because watching Howard run it's more painful than watching
the dogs tear people
get
apart.
Mauled by the dogs. Like it is one of the hardest things to watch in this film, because then he has to run again. He has to run to another location.
Michael is not having it. He is like, you don't have asthma. You're just fat, and you need to really go on a diet when this is all said and done. Unfortunately, he doesn't get a chance to learn from this experience because, okay, so all this comes in. So basically, here's the thing: is like these students at this dorm are the most impatient people on the planet, because they had to have been only waiting like 5 minutes, and because they've been waiting 5 minutes, they conclude that Professor Fitzgerald is not coming back for them, so they just need to head on over to the library themselves. So this whole group of students leave the safety of the dorm and head out to the library. Back at Carolyn's, she still has not got her shit together. She's sitting on the couch. He's like, Carolyn, please go get dressed so we can leave. So she's like, okay, I'll go get dressed.
I'm like, bitch, why are you just crying there holding that? Why are you holding that dog, first of all? I know that Peanut, or whatever her name is, what is it? Cricket. I know Cricket looks like she's small, but I do not doubt that a tiny mouth could maul the fuck out of you. I would sequester that dog in a room out of fear that because these dogs are all high on hormones, they're going to be smelling her tiny dog puss and come looking for her, is my fear. That's what if this is all hormone based, aren't they like drawn to other dogs? I would think. So whatever the science is behind it, I don't think that she should be holding on to Cricket, but she's holding on to her for dear life. But why are you just sitting there crying, bitch? Pack a bag. Get ready to go.
Well, she takes Cricket and she goes to go get dressed, and then all of a sudden you hear her fucking scream. That fucking screech. Oh, it's a screech. It's horrible. It's worse than the dogs howling. This is the worst scream in film history. And she comes running back into the living room. Harlan gets up and looks, and like behind her, all these fucking dogs are following her. So they're inside the house. So they run into the attached garage and shut the door, and literally like have to like barricade themselves in the garage, because the dogs are like violently bashing themselves against the garage door trying to get in.
We've got to acknowledge that moment when she comes running down that staircase. shrieking, and he stands up. There's that shepherd that is like the first in like chasing after her, and he picks up the gun and he blasts the dog, and there's the shot of the shepherd getting thrown across the staircase and against the wall. It's obviously, I think, a fake dog, like, because the way he's thrown, it's very physical, but I was like, holy fuck. And then all of a sudden you got this fucking sheepdog and all these other dogs that come. Like, how'd they get up there? There was a moment where you saw them coming through the window, but there was like 30 dogs in her upstairs, and nobody knew this was coming. And she's screaming. They run across her tiny little back lot into her garage, and these dogs are everywhere. And this is both absurd and horrifying, because do I think dogs could start breaking through the drywall of my garage? I don't know. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure that you'd be pretty safe in this room, but these dogs are finding a way. They are Night of the Living Dead style, boarding up the doors, and these dogs are still coming through little doggy doors.
You got paws busting through the door. You got all kinds of shit. In the meantime, the group of students who are now walking to the library are literally descended upon by dogs, and you get a whole fucking attack sequence where the dogs start attacking this group. A couple of them are dragged down and ripped apart, but most of the students do get into the library in time. And the library is just this, like, the whole front of the library, we have to acknowledge, is glass, including a glass door. But they get into the library, they shut the door, and they literally have to watch their two friends that got dragged down be ripped apart on the lawn of the college campus.
Now, for a moment here, this was giving me shades of Piranha 2 Electric Boogaloo with the spawning, where you had that whole beach moment where you were like, oh, I'm really waiting for this beach moment. And then it happened, and I was like, oh, that wasn't as good as I thought it would be. Like, for a moment, it's good, but then it stops. And because this gets really awesome. You see this crowd of students, and again, chaos. They're running, they're screaming. But then only two of them get mauled. And I was like, oh, that feels like they kind of wasted it. But do know that this is all kind of building up to one final climactic moment that does give a payoff. And so I'm not going to hold anything against the sequence, because all this is doing is getting all of these students back to one location. So they're trapped. They're trapped in the library. And yeah, they're having to watch these two kids get killed. And so right now what's happening is you're going back and forth between fucking Harlan and Carolyn, who are trying to plot a way to escape in her vehicle. She left her bag on the counter. Of course she did. She's fucking useless. So she left it in the house.
Do you not think she should have acknowledged this before they get into the car and act like they're all ready to leave? Like, she left her purse on the counter and her keys are inside.
Do you put it past her? Of course not. She's a horrible character. She's absolutely helpless. And so, but then he's like, oh, I guess I'll just have to hotwire it. Like, okay, no big. I stopped doing that when I was 10, but I still remember. Like, way to just explain it off that this guy knows how to hotwire a vehicle. Which really doesn't come into play because they don't ever get a chance to use this car. But it's going back and forth between this whole like hot wiring concept and what's happening on the campus. You've got Michael and you've got Chubbins Magoo, and they're full sprinting back to the library. They find the one location empty. He's like, God damn it, those stupid fucking kids. So now they have to make it across campus again. And so we have to watch this kid run again, this poor chubby kid running. It's hard to watch.
But he makes it to the library before Michael does, because actually Michael sees the pack of dogs, so he immediately stops. Howard does not see them, so he actually runs to the glass door and he's banging on them to let him in, and he turns around and he sees this whole pack of dogs charging at him, and he's pounding the glass, let me in, let me, frantically. And before he can do anything, one of the fucking dogs jumps on him and pushes him through the fucking glass door, shattering the glass. And Roger, before you know it, these dogs are in the building, and what you wanted to see a couple seconds ago on the lawn, you see now. These dogs are going to town, attacking these kids in the library. I mean, they are just relentless. Like, girls are trying to climb up fucking stacks of books, and the dogs are pulling them down and gnawing them. I mean, these kids are getting fucked up.
Troy, how many kids would you say that you feel were collected in that library? I'd say at least 30.
Yeah, there was a lot. Because the whole student dorm lobby was full. And I mean, these dogs take them out.
Let us be clear here. Every single student that Michael went to protect
there is not one.
is violently mauled. Not one person got into a bathroom. Not one person found safety, maybe climbed up into the ceiling, hid there. I don't know what you do in a library.
Climb to the top of a bookshelf. That's what I would have done.
Every single student is horribly massacred. And you see, the attack is great. Like, again, the chaos, when this film captures chaos, it does a pretty damn good job. But the chaos of all the kids running up the stairs trying to get away as these dogs kill all of them is pretty great. But what's even cooler is the aftermath of seeing as Michael walks inside and there are just bodies everywhere. You see our good friend Harold mauled on a staircase. You see girls' bodies laying everywhere. You see there is that one dorky kid who was wearing the yellow wearing a yellow rain slicker.
Yeah.
You know the one I'm talking about? He's a very small character, but he was the one that was trying to be like, no, we should listen to the teachers. He's dead. The jock that tried to get everyone to go outside, he's dead. Like, everyone's dead. And I cannot believe that they literally killed this entire
They did.
body.
And, Michael waits. He waits a while. It's a while before Michael goes into the building. Because during this attack, we cut back to the garage where, Harlan says he's going to hotwire the car. So he gets out and he starts to work when all of a sudden they realize the dogs, it's quiet. Like, the dogs don't seem like they're there anymore. So Carolyn gets out of the car and she kind of creeps around and then all of a sudden lets out that fucking scream again. And you see now there are dogs coming through the fucking doggy door and they're trying to scramble to get back into the car. Actually, Harlan's leg gets bit and grabbed by one of the dogs and Carolyn does have to kick it away and get it loose from him. But they're being attacked. So then we go back to the campus where Michael is he's been outside the whole time listening to this. Yeah. And he waits until it's quiet. And then he goes into the library. But I mean, he's walking through the library and he is seeing all of these dead kids. Like, everyone is dead, bloodied, mauled, throats ripped out. And you can tell he just feels so defeated and devastated that he could not help these kids. I mean, this man has had a shitty night. Let's acknowledge he killed the college president on accident. He kicked it into high gear because he thought he was going to be the hero. He thought he was going to be able to save these kids, and now every single one of them is dead.
That's a bad track record.
Yeah, and
this man literally failed to protect anybody that he tried to help.
And so he just wanders, like, we get a shot of him just wandering in the darkness solemnly, like he's just defeated. And now it's the next morning and Harlan and Carolyn are still in the garage. They don't hear the dogs anymore. It's been a while. So he proceeds to unboard the door to look outside and he doesn't see any of the dogs. So he tells Carolyn once again to get some things together. So she goes inside, goes back up to her room, opens the door, and that fucking group of dogs is just sitting in her. They've been waiting. These dogs have been waiting the entire night for this bitch to come back upstairs to get her belongings.
This is my favorite shot in the movie. There is like nothing but peace and silence, and she's walking like up the steps, and she turns the corner, and she opens the door, and that shot of her opening the door to reveal that fucking sheepdog and all those other dogs just hanging out. Like, it's both unintentionally hilarious and also truly shocking and amazing. But it's out of fucking nowhere. Like, it's just quiet. You know something's got to give, but she just shrieks, and those dogs are there, and they come running after them. And so they're forced to take Harlan's car. Wise call. They rush to the vehicle as the dogs come pouring out of the house. They're jumping all over the vehicle. They're jumping up on the hood. Harlan floors it. They drive away. The dogs go scattering. And so these two, they get out of the house. They make a run for it. They get to the car and drive away.
They drive away, and along the way they do see the sheriff's car on the side of the road. So they get out to investigate. They see the sheriff's dead body laying in his car where we saw him die earlier. But then they also see another body laying over by the road, and Carolyn runs over to it. She's like, "Oh my God, it's Michael." And it's Michael. I have so many questions. Like, how did he get there? Why is he there? Why didn't we see him die for being such a prominent character? I have so many questions.
They could have tied this up by just having something like Harlan checks the body and he's like, he didn't die from being mauled. He shot himself in the head. Something like give me some kind of conclusion that he was so depressed from having not betrayed, but failed literally an entire campus of students, that he took his own life or something. Some kind of note of closure would have been so appreciated here. And instead, like he's mauled, but he just randomly got mauled in a field and we didn't see it. That's how you're gonna send this guy off, especially after he tried so hard. He did. It's not like he's a piece of shit. This guy tried. And the fact that those kids died was not his fault. He went out to go save one of them and they all just left. Fuck them. They deserved it. That was not his fault. And same with the other dude when he shot him on the ground. Like that dog was mauling him. He tried, So like I feel so bad for this guy. And this is how you're gonna do him. They kind of did him dirty. I think they really did him dirty.
Absolutely. And I just, again, I question why was he here? This seemed like to me, and just the geography of the town, this is kind of far from the school. So how did he just walk all this way and then just randomly get attacked by dogs? I don't know. I don't know why he ended up here. It just seems like such a convenient plot point that, we're at the end of the film. We want Harlan and Carolyn to find Michael dead because we got to show that Michael died. So let's put his body next to the sheriff's car. People won't question it. Well, I questioned it. I was like, what the fuck?
It feels forced.
It is really forced. And yeah, you're right. They did the character dirty. Like I would have been, if they would have found his body propped up against the car with the shotgun in his hands, like he shot himself, that's what I'm saying. I would have been, oh my God, I would have felt something. My heart would have dropped. Right. I would have been, oh no, like he blamed himself. Nope, he just randomly gets mauled on the side of the road, I guess.
Or even like if they would have shown him walk off into the night and cut back to him, Troy, and like made it like clear that he heard the dogs coming and he put the gun down and just let the dogs get him. Something like that. Like this is a character that has done enough and tried hard enough that he deserved a final moment before being discovered the next day. Because I do think like even the geography, like it's not the geography that throws me off. He could have just been walking all that time trying to get from the campus to the town to reconnect with them and just got mauled. I'm fine with that. But don't not show me. Like this is one of the three focal characters of the film. To just find him dead in a field just does not seem like a strong decision to me.
Probably the worst decision of the film, but they had to tie it up, I guess, and so he just became fodder and not the important character that they tried to make him out to be for the rest of the film. Unfortunately, they get back into the car, and as they're driving away, we hear the radio on, and the radio is talking about how there has been basically dog attacks all over California, and right now, as it can be determined by authorities, only dogs seem to be affected. So right at the same time, their car passes this yellow tabby cat. And as the car passes, this yellow tabby cat looks into the camera and gives that ominous...
It sounds very human making a cat noise. It's very, allow me. It sounds along the lines of meow.
That's what it is.
And apparently that's supposed to be an ominous sign.
Scary.
That is its siren call into the night as the movie rolls into the credits, because that's it. Apparently cats are affected too. Lo and behold.
I need to see that.
Oh
why wasn't there a sequel Cats, Roger? Can you imagine
that would be even
fucking
worse.
Siamese cats and those hairless cats attacking people?
Oh my God, just clawing at you. Dogs sounds like a miserable death. Cats sound significantly worse, because I think cats are smart enough to toy with you.
Oh.
Well, obviously we know that before they kill you. Imagine the stalking sequences of Cats. Not Cats the musical, mind you, though imagine if it was.
Taylor Swift and CGI.
Oh God, that does feel like a direct sequel to this film, because that movie is so horrifying, so terrifying. It does make me feel the same elements of fear that I feel when watching the movie Dogs, when I'm seeing people get mauled. And I will say that truthfully, Troy, I did feel some moments of fear watching this movie. I did not expect it at all. I really thought I was going to hate this film. And there are things about this film I might say I do hate a little bit. But Did I have a good time watching an entire college campus get mauled by dogs? I loved it. Like, I have no complaints in that regard. Truthfully, I don't. I was actually pleasantly surprised. I think this film surpassed my expectations, which were extremely low. They were extremely low expectations, but this film did manage to surpass them quite a bit. And I got to give it credit where credit is due.
I will say, if you give this film a chance, you really will have a good time with it. Is it a good film? No. But there are several entertaining sequences that make a viewing worth it. I feel like if you can get past the first half hour, I think the film really kicks itself into what it's supposed to be. I wish it could have pushed boundaries a little bit more in certain scenes. But overall, yeah, once the film gets going and we start to get these dogs attacking, I had a good time. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to pretend I hate this movie. I did not. It's harmless. I think it's one you could put on with a group of friends and just laugh at and have a good time with. It's one of those types of movies you're not supposed to take it seriously. Don't think about it too hard. Just sit back with some whiskey and beer, because we know fucking how much Harlan loves that, and just have a fucking good time with it, because this would be a great party film to watch.
I do feel like one missed opportunity with this film was that as they get in the car and drive off, instead of having that bullshit cat moment, I was praying to God that like they'd get in the vehicle and then that fucking cricket would just be like and maul the fuck out of them, and then they both died. Like, I was yearning for a Shih Tzu kill. That was really what I needed. But hey, what I got was still pretty fun. And yes, it's bloated, and yes, the dialogue is over my head. But the kills are where it's at, and you know, for a horror movie, if the strongest aspect is the kill sequences, then I mean, it could have been a lot worse. It could have been it could have been that the best aspect of the film was, I don't know, the mountain scenery. No, the best aspect of the film was the kills. And for an animal attack film from 1977, for that to be the best part of the film, that is a pretty strong note to end on. So I'm pretty damn pleased with my viewing here altogether. Gripes aside,
yeah, for a blind viewing that you had never seen and I'd never heard of, I think I had a good time with it for sure. I would definitely love to hear your guys' opinions on it, listeners. If this was a first time viewing for you, please share your thoughts on Dogs and what you thought of it, where you would rank it among the killer animal flicks. And we were deprived of a sequel that could have been great.
Hey, maybe that's our job, Troy, to try to get the rights to either remake Dogs or make a sequel.
You know who you're playing if we remake it.
I mean, how could I not play that fat guy?
No, I was thinking the old woman who gets dragged away by the Irish setter. That's
you're too kind to me. Thank you. Thank you for thinking of me. You know I want that role.
Yeah. So guys, what do you think? Let us know what you think about Dogs, and I'm going to quickly reveal our pick for next week, or my pick for next week. I told you what it was going to be already in our birding episode. I'm sticking with a theme. I like themes, Roger. I wish we did more theme months. Like, we pick a month and all the films fall under a specific theme. As
I love that.
I'm going to tell you, I have 1 week left of school, and then I'm off for the summer. And my summer plans include heading to Cleveland for a meat premiere, among other things. God. But my theme is fucking summer. The Burning, a summer camp film. We are going right into another summer camp film that was released the same year as The Burning, the same year as Friday the 13th. That constantly gets lumped with The Burning and Friday the 13th Part 2. One I mentioned several times in our Burning episode, and one Roger has not seen. We are covering 1981's Madman.
1981's Madman. Let's see if I like it as much as I enjoyed The Burning, because, shock and awe, I actually like The Burning quite a lot, though some of you did not and made it known to me. I'll say that. Thank you for the follow-up after that last episode. It was a good one. But no, I think this is the right choice, Troy. And I'm so ready to finish. I mean, that would mean that I've covered like the big four when it comes to 1980s slashers. And I'm not including sequels. I'm saying we got Friday the 13th, The Burning. Now we're throwing this into the mix. I think that's the right decision. So good call.
Awesome.
Good call, Troy.
Yeah. So join us next week when we discuss. Well, I mean, we're going from Dogs to Mad Men. So be prepared. And with that, guys, thank you as always. Head on over to Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating if you enjoyed the show. Check out our Patreon. And we will be back next week with Madman.
See you then. Farewell, friend.